Before we begin, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because today's story uncovers a side of Hollywood history few people truly understand. For decades, the name Errol Flynn symbolized daring heroism on screen and chaos off it. He was celebrated as cinema's greatest swashbuckler, yet whispered about as a man consumed by scandal. But behind the rumors and headlines stood one woman who knew him better than anyone else. Her name was Patrice Wymore, and after decades of silence, she finally spoke in a way that reshaped how history remembers him. To the public, Errol Flynn was a legend carved in Technicolor. Sword fights, bold romances, and fearless charm defined his image. Yet fame often hides deeper wounds. Patrice Wymore, his third wife, witnessed the man behind the myth during his most fragile years. When she finally broke her silence in old age, her words challenged decades of carefully crafted stories. She didn't deny his flaws. Instead, she revealed the pain, manipulation, and loneliness that shaped his life. What she shared forced audiences to confront an uncomfortable truth about Hollywood's golden age. Errol Leslie Flynn was born on June 20, 1909, in Battery Point, Tasmania. His father, Theodore Flynn, was a respected biologist, admired for his intellect and discipline. His mother, Lily Mary Young, was far colder. From a young age, Errol experienced emotional distance and harsh criticism. Home never felt safe or warm. Instead of comfort, he grew up surrounded by judgment. Those early wounds would follow him for the rest of his life. Flynn's childhood was not the adventurous fantasy many imagined. Though his father kept exotic animals for research, the household itself felt cruel and isolating. His mother often insulted him, calling him wicked and uncontrollable. By the age of 7, Errol carried emotional scars that never healed. Authority became something he rejected instinctively. Discipline only fueled rebellion. The foundations of his later excess were already being laid. Between 1915 and 1926, Flynn was expelled from nearly every school he attended. Tasmania couldn't contain him, and neither could Sydney. He fought classmates, stole when bored, and courted scandal at an alarmingly young age. By 17, he was already infamous. Teachers labeled him dangerous. Parents warned their daughters away. But beneath the chaos was a boy desperate to escape judgment and feel alive. That desire for escape took him far from Australia. At just 18, Flynn traveled to Papua New Guinea, chasing adventure and reinvention. He later claimed he survived tribal attacks, faced a murder trial, and worked as a gold prospector. Some stories were exaggerated, others partially true. What mattered was how these experiences shaped him. Danger thrilled him. Risk made him feel powerful. This hunger for intensity would later define both his success and his downfall. By the early 1930s, fate steered Flynn toward acting. His first major role came in 1933 within the wake of The Bounty. The film failed commercially, but Flynn stood out. Hollywood noticed. In 1935, Warner Brothers brought him to America. At first, he was dismissed as just another foreign actor. Then opportunity struck unexpectedly. When actor Robert Donat fell ill, Flynn was handed the lead role in Captain Blood. Overnight, everything changed. At just 26, he became a star. Audiences fell in love with his reckless confidence and magnetic presence. His chemistry with Olivia de Havilland became legendary. Together, they created some of cinema's most iconic moments. By the adventures of Robin Hood in 1938, Flynn was unstoppable. But fame came at a cost. Studios deliberately blurred the line between Errol Flynn the actor and Errol Flynn the man. Warner Brothers marketed him as a real-life rogue. Tabloids were fed stories of wild parties and endless affairs. The public consumed the fantasy eagerly. Behind closed doors, Flynn felt lonelier than ever. Alcohol became an escape. Excess became routine. Everything shattered in 1942. 2 teenage girls accused Flynn of statutory rape. The allegations dominated headlines and shocked the nation. Hollywood froze. Warner Brothers mobilized immediately, hiring elite attorneys to protect their investment. The trial turned into a spectacle. Defense lawyers attacked the girls' credibility relentlessly. Evidence was twisted. Sympathy leaned heavily toward the star. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere felt theatrical. Flynn testified calmly, denying all charges. Outside, fans flooded the streets. Women fainted. Police struggled to maintain order. After intense deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict, not guilty on all counts. Flynn walked free, but the stain on his reputation never disappeared. The man survived legally, but emotionally, something broke. By 1950, Flynn's star was fading. His body bore the cost of decades of excess. During the filming of Rocky Mountain, he met Patrice Wymore, a talented young actress with her future ahead of her. She was intelligent, poised, and hopeful. Against expectations, their connection deepened quickly. Despite skepticism and gossip, they chose each other. They married in October 1950 in Monaco. Fans celebrated what looked like a fairy tale ending. Patrice believed she could save him. The couple retreated to Jamaica, far from Hollywood's glare. Flynn owned a vast estate there, filled with beauty and isolation. Celebrities visited. Nights were lively, days were quiet. For a moment, life felt stable. In 1953, Patrice gave birth to their daughter, Arnella Roma Flynn. Motherhood changed her priorities completely. She stepped back from her career to protect her family. Flynn, however, continued spiraling. Alcohol, morphine, and illness dominated his life. Patrice tried to hold everything together, but the weight was crushing. Flynn's health collapsed rapidly. Malaria returned. His liver failed. Heart attacks came early. Directors no longer trusted him. Warner Brothers ended their long partnership. Once a symbol of youth and strength, Flynn now looked decades older than his age. Roles dried up. Money vanished. Pride turned to bitterness. Financial ruin followed. Bad investments, lawsuits, and unpaid debts consumed what remained of his fortune. The yacht, the estate, the lifestyle all became burdens. Patrice managed everything while raising a child and caring for a dying husband. Flynn admitted in his memoirs that she loved him deeply. Still, his demons won. In 1959, Flynn collapsed in Vancouver after receiving medical treatment for pain. He died hours later from a massive heart attack. He was only 50. Doctors said his body resembled that of a man in his 70s. Patrice was left widowed at 32, carrying debt, grief, and a shattered future. Life after Flynn was harsh. Patrice inherited land that brought more problems than peace. Taxes and lawsuits forced her to abandon Hollywood dreams. She returned briefly to acting, but eventually chose a quiet life in Jamaica. She raised Arnella away from fame, hoping to break the cycle that destroyed her husband. Tragically, history repeated itself. Arnella grew up surrounded by shadows. In adulthood, she struggled with addiction. In 1998, she died from a drug overdose at just 44. Patrice lost not only her husband, but also her child. Few pains are deeper. Despite everything, Patrice remained loyal to Flynn's memory. When authors accused him of being a Nazi sympathizer, she spoke out fiercely. She cited intelligence records and personal knowledge. Later files supported her claims. Flynn had been monitored, not recruited. The accusations were exaggerated, even false. In her later years, Patrice finally spoke openly. She admitted Flynn's behavior toward young women was disturbing and wrong, but she explained it as the result of lifelong emotional damage. He was not excusing him. She was explaining him. She believed understanding mattered more than silence. She revealed how studios manipulated narratives to sell a myth. Flynn's recklessness was profitable. His pain was entertainment. Hollywood never protected him. It consumed him. Patrice wanted history to remember that truth. Patrice Wymore died in 2014 at the age of 87. She lived quietly, away from cameras. Her final gift was honesty. She didn't ask for forgiveness on Flynn's behalf. She asked for humanity. Errol Flynn was not just a hero or a villain. He was both broken and brilliant. His legacy is complicated, uncomfortable, and deeply human. Patrice understood that better than anyone. So what do you think? Was Patrice right to defend him, or should history remember only the scandals? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more untold stories from Hollywood's golden age, like this video, subscribe, and stay with us for the next story.